This conference will
I,
now be
the United
recorded.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes from our March 5th meeting?
Move to approve.
Second. Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Sorry. Any additions or corrections to the agenda?
No changes.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. And any conflicts of interest?
None here. None.
Alright, seeing none, we'll move into a public hearing for change of zoning 291-26 for Black Hills property. So our format for the public hearing is we'll hear from Amber and we'll hear from the applicant. Then we'll open the meeting to the public and you can talk. And when you stand up, or please stand up to talk and then state your name and your address because the meeting is recorded and it helps a lot with the minutes and stuff like that. If you forget, I'll ask you. I'm not mad at you. I'm just reminding you. And then we'll go back and forth with that for a while. And then when there's no more input from the public, we'll close the public hearing and then we'll have discussion amongst the board. And we ask you please refrain from that unless we ask you to. So, all right.
Okay. So this is, even though it's titled Change of Zoning 291-26, the reason why we have it that way is because this original Powderhouse Pass Community Improvement District Master Plan was approved as part of the original change of zoning. So we keep the numbering the same just for, so we know kind of what's going on with it. This is an amendment to that original master plan. And the amendment, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but this is just kind of a summary. Basically, the amendment is so that we can have a better process of looking at commercial development within that subdivision. We now will have some information in the master plan that specifies the amount of usage. So for sewer and water, there's a usage with it now versus just having an open-ended number. So they would have to meet those usage requirements. And then also as part of this amendment, they are requesting that in the original PUD, and it was in our old planned unit development district regulations, there was verbiage in there for common space. It was a minimum of 25% of the total site acreage included in the application shall be preserved as common recreation and meaningful open space. Talks about you can use water bodies, floodplain, whatever. When we did the ordinance amendment for 2022-04, where we revised sections of this planned unit development at that time, there was some change to that common space 25% requirement. And the reason for that was we were having issues with subdivisions creating these common spaces, but then not doing anything with them. They were just unmaintained land. It wasn't, there was just nothing happening. And then sooner or later they would be given up for not paying taxes on them, and then they would just sit there. We wouldn't have anything. So in 2022, when we did this, we changed the wording to basically be that a documentation of ownership and maintenance responsibility attached to that common space has to be out there. So the Community Improvement District and the master plan, they would like the language to be updated. So instead of being the old regulations, they would like to update it to the new regulations. It makes sense to me. We made that change, but this was in their old master plan. So they're just asking for the new language, which is what you see here. It just makes it consistent with what our actual regulations are. So as part of the process as they were doing the amendment, it made sense to go ahead and request it at the same time. So that's all I have. Trent is online and John is here if you have any questions for Powderhouse Pass.
Mr. Chairman. Amber, is it true that the overall density in terms of either residential or commercial doesn't change with this? It's just a matter of how they're sort of measured. Is that fair?
Residential isn't changed at all. Commercial, we didn't have a number on it before, which was what was causing the problem. So now it's if they can make it work based on the usage, then we can allow it.
You're talking usage based on this chart that's in here?
Yes. Yep. So now they have to basically, their engineers have to prove that whatever they're doing they can make those standards work. So that's all I have.
Anything else from the applicant? Okay, we'll open it up for public comment. Anyone have any comments?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one more question? John, I think this was done in conjunction with Powder House Pass, right? We're with the sanitary sewer district, so they had input on the water usage, correct?
Correct.
So the developer and the district itself cooperated to produce this?
Yes.
Okay, Amber, do you have anything else?
I don't have anything.
Applicant? Public? All right, we'll close the public hearing.
Quick question before you guys start. And whether this is Trent or John, I need the signed paperwork back from you guys that I gave you in that packet. We never got it back. So just look for the packet and then drop those off to me, please.
Any discussion, questions?
I think it just cleans it up a lot. And makes it a better program. It's a way of measuring, so I move to approve.
Okay, thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, public hearing for CUP 500 for Front Gate Holdings. Is there any new people that need to hear the public hearing format again? Hey.
Okay. So this is a public hearing for Front Gate Holdings, Jeff and Polly Garrett's property off of Highway 85. They would like to install a wireless communication tower and facility on that property. It's where the storage units already sit, so it kind of makes sense. It's all in that general location. It meets all of the requirements with towers. We just have a regular conditional use permit process. You guys can, dictate how tall you want it and all of that. We usually have kind of a standard. They've provided the plans for you of what they're asking for. And their plans that are included are consistent with other towers that we've already approved. So we usually don't go into it much. We do require a full set of plans. They will have to get a building permit if this is approved. I think that's probably all I have, unless you guys have specific questions. They gave you all of the engineering data, as that the big packet that you received. And Ryan is here if you guys have any questions for the applicant.
Okay, anything from the applicant?
I wrote on the top
Good.
of this one.
Okay, and we'll open it up for public comment. Okay, anybody got anything else?
Nope.
All right, close the public hearing, discussions. Looks pretty simple. There's definitely a dead area out there for snow service.
Yeah, I think it's a good spot for it.
I move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Is that with quick conditions included? There's a list of conditions.
Yes, there is.
What was your question?
Is that with the conditions included? There's 18 conditions.
Yeah.
Yes, I would include the conditions.
Thoughts or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And then Ryan, we have a packet for the next round of stuff for you. So pretty much the same process. We'll trade out old paperwork and new paperwork.
And this was the only other thing that.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. Receipts and everything.
Okay, informational meeting for CUP 451-26, Arts Kids LLC.
Okay, this is for Marta Arts. And this is down Boulder Canyon. It would be where Marta's Doghouse, David Doghouse is. Been there for a long time. Used to be the church, the Jehovah's Witness church years ago. She has been actively running that facility now. What did we decide? Not 6 years already? Wow. 6 years already. We have had 0 complaints in the entire 6 years, which says a lot because there's dogs and animals and things, so that's good. She also lives on site, so her house is inside the church. She rebuilt that, so the house is in there, plus all the kennels, and then you've got the outdoor space. At the time that she did her original plan, she had said that, you know, if it goes well, sooner or later, I'd like to, you know, maybe come back and do some additions to it. We opted with the changes that she wants to make. It was best to do an amendment. She put a full business plan together for you guys. Did a nice job with it. She would like to expand the number of dogs allowed in her current CUP. It was 20 dogs. I can tell you, and she's very well aware that she does have more than 20 dogs there, just because it's gotten busier. And so with that, she felt that it was time to, you know, consistently, since she's having more, to come in and do this review. Even with the additional dogs, we have still not received any complaints. So she would like to increase that. She would like to make some changes to the existing building. You know, one thing is that was an old church. There's been a lot of changes on the inside. She's made it where, you know, you can live there and be there and you really don't know anything's taking place inside the building. They would like to have some more retail space, some obedience trading, and then in the old plan, it had already had that someday she would like to have grooming. Well, we're at that someday. She has her full-time groomer there now that can help with things. So she wants to have a space for her, and then wants to add kind of a kitty area, a cat area that's more enclosed in a way, because there's not just as many people have cats as they have dogs. So, but I think overall she put a nice business plan together for you, explaining what she's going to do and how she would like to go about it. Based on the old one, we didn't have any issues. The addition in here that we had talked about, and I let her kind of do it. I mean, she's already been kind of doing it, but she felt she should add it. Everybody knows during events, Deadwood events, there's parking needed. So she would like to have she basically is letting people come out there and park. She has that big concrete parking lot already, and they're not there really, you know, the dogs, you have people drop off and leave, they don't park there. So she would like to allow people to park during vendor events and different things going on downtown. I think it makes sense. There's a nice parking area there and it's easy to get in and out of. So she did add that stuff in here too, you know, the horse trailer parking, event and vendor parking area. I know there's been a couple times she's had some events out there, like when you have, you know, dog events. I know she had a school event out there where the kids did a fundraiser and, you know, there was stuff outside and whatever. So she'd like to just utilize some of that space. She'll put a new fence in. So that's all written up in there. I think she put a good plan together. This is a very, you know, rough drawing of what she would like to do. You come in and there's a hallway. There would be an area here and an area here. We're going to make her follow all the current code requirements. So we don't usually ask for that as part of the CUP. They would have to submit it as part of the building permit. So that's kind of why you don't have a real detailed set of plans yet. This is existing location. You can see all the parking.
I have a question on that. So it's that one in the middle that is the kennel, and then that's where
This
you do
entire
the
structure is all, yep.
Okay.
So she lives kind of over in this back corner.
So it's just an expansion of that space there.
It's
and
actually
then-
just redoing the inside.
And then,
Well, actually, sorry.
Go ahead. No, what? Go ahead.
So this awning right here, it'd be under this. So this
oh,
would
I
be the
did, you
kitty,
did say that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
and
incorporated.
this would be the room, and that would be the hallway into
Okay.
the lobby area.
So
So
it's
And are
not,
you expanding the parking at all?
No,
Okay.
shouldn't have to.
No. Shouldn't have to.
Already got a roof on it, swoop with walls there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I brought my handyman with me.
He looks excited.
Yeah, right now you drive under that and come back out. It makes a
Okay.
loop. So it'll just, her drop off will just be
Basically
right
the
in
same
front,
footprint.
pretty much the same footprint.
Yeah, make sure you put a sign so people don't keep driving through.
Yeah. I already ran into one of my pillars.
And parking wise, she has more than enough. We've never had enough people there at one
Yeah.
time. It's usually they drop off and leave. Because it's a doggy daycare type facility. So that's kind of what's going on there. Again, building wise, she'll have to bring it all into compliance, and we've worked with them. The handyman redid the whole inside of the building, so he got really good at meeting the requirements.
Anything else? Any other questions?
That's all I
This
have.
is,
Do you have anything to add, Marta?
During events, does a shuttle bus run out there then and pick people up and drop
Um,
off? Or?
Well, it's very nice because Cool Deadwood Nights, they already have something worked out with Ernie and Cam Ruffdo. And so some of my trailer people that come back every year, they will park there and then walk over and take the shuttle into town.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's been really convenient. And I even have some of my trailers bring their dogs now. And so I already got calls for coming. They like that I'm there. They like, even if it's just their trailers, they like the fact that I'm there and watching over the place, so.
Yep. I allowed her to do the trailer stuff last year without actually having it in the CUP because everybody knows Deadwood needs space for trailers. So we let her do it and then just said, because we knew she'd be looking at this update. So we figured we'll just put it in there now as part of it. But it worked really well. We didn't have any, no problems with getting a trailer in and out of there or anything.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions? Does anybody want to do it on site? No. Good.
I'll move to approve.
Oh, you can't do that yet. We're just starting it.
It all
Public
makes,
hearing.
it
Just
makes
this
sense,
informational
yeah.
meeting today.
Today's just informational.
Yeah. Sorry,
Well,
but that's a good sign for you though.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen, okay.
Is there any thought to, I see a lot of green
Yeah.
and people will drop trailers off everywhere. Is there any requirements that they stay on the pavement or can use the whole lot?
So,
You have to be a little careful because there is septic system out there.
Yeah.
So
well,
we
the
gotta stay off
septic
that.
system is in the front. The green, I mean, I've had random, but I used to work for the Chamber of Commerce with events, so I'm pretty well, I've had, I've helped. But if I have a good system where they just do a circle and then maybe, but I do own
Just
them.
put a note in there. So they're,
That we should, or should.
well, I wouldn't have a problem if you do, but just cover it one way or another.
Cover it, make
Permit
sure
anyway.
it's-
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to go towards maybe we would.
Do an expansion
Yeah.
of your drive, of your
Yeah, 'cause
parking area.
Even like with one of my events, I'd like to take up the whole parking lot and then have, but it'd be in the summertime for sure and have maybe some parking over there.
We can look at that for the conditions is what you're thinking.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
There's your sign. There's your packet.
Thank you.
Just remember the drill, do the.
Yeah, written on
Can I
it.
see what the sign looks like? Cause I'm
Just
not,
so you know.
I'm curious. I'm learning here.
She's new, she hasn't seen
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
This one's specifically for conditional use.
So that they know to
So
call.
they're all color coordinated depending on what it is. So
Oh.
blue is always CUP.
Oh,
I don't know. They're all color coordinated. I don't remember what all the colors are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you so much.
See ya.
Thank you.
Okay, so the public hearing for that will be on May 7th.
Too far.
Now informational meeting for ordinance 26-01. Carly Nestor.
All right, so we are actually going to talk about 2601 and CUP 501 kind of simultaneously, so you kind of know if they are going to work together, but we have to have separate discussions on them and ordinance stuff. So the first is the ordinance change. So Carly had come to me and she was interested in purchasing a house that sits right across from the Crow Peak Brewing Company and right behind the gas station. So if that gives you that little house that's sat there,
So
right?
it's right next to the gas.
Right next to,
Yeah,
on the,
Cause
on
I
Evans
drove by
Lane.
there the other day and I
Yep,
wasn't sure. which
Right
one.
on Evans Lane.
Yeah, I
So
know
it's,
exactly.
It's a house away from the gas station.
okay, so yeah, it's like right there. So she was interested in purchasing that property. And as part of that, we started looking at how could she make that house a commercial building instead of being a residential house. She owns a current business and that's what you see in the second line item, the CUP, it'll be Root Wellness. And as part of that wellness business, she wants to be able to offer her business in there, plus maybe some retail and or other people that are doing similar to what she does. And so as part of that, when we started looking at the highway service commercial zoning, which is what that property is. So the property is actually zoned highway service commercial. There wasn't anything within that zoning district that would really work for what she wanted to do. But we did have verbiage in other parts of our ordinance for, so retail sales and trade is already defined. So we have a definition because we did a retail sales and trade in a different district. Well, the retail sales and trade works perfect for what she wants to do. It's professional offices, retail, obviously, but that's kind of what that definition is, and that's already in our ordinance, but it wasn't listed as a conditional use permit in that district. So she's having to amend the district. Now, we had some discussion on would we add it as an allowed use or a conditional use. The reason why I didn't recommend an allowed use is because that's not how it was in the other district. So usually we try to be consistent. The other district, it was already listed as a conditional use permit. And with that, the conditional use permit gets approved first, then the building permit has to go through the city of Spearfish because it's inside their building permit jurisdiction. And then they are going to look at, parking regulations and all of that for a commercial business. So I felt it was best to be consistent with the other commercial district and keep it the same. So we have to add that in first. That is the ordinance 2601. We'd be adding it to the highway service commercial district. And then the second part of it is the CUP. So I don't know if you really want me to keep talking about the CUP part though. She provided an.
Which district was retail sales and trade in now?
I didn't write it down. I think it's in, I think we have it in park forest and rural residential already. And then.
But now in the highway service commercial.
But not, that didn't make sense. And
That's
that's,
what you guys have been doing.
well, I
Really?
was all
actually
my fault.
think what it was is it got added into the park recently. Like we just added the definition, and I think somebody else wanted to do a similar type thing, so they added it, but they were only working within that district.
Yep.
And so, so two things with this one. One, I feel that this is the one we didn't have Carly pay for, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I did not have Carly. So normally I would collect a fee from the person. But in this scenario, I feel like it really is something that we probably would have done anyways. We just weren't working on ordinance revisions. So I did not charge her for this one. I feel like we should just run it through like regular. Now then she would have to apply for the CUP and pay for the CUP. So if you guys are okay with that, that's how I'd like to operate it. We'll just do a regular administrative changes, or we would just run it through without them having to pay the $200 fee. Because I think we would have done it, we just weren't working on ordinance revisions.
You said it's in park forest, but it's not in here now because you just recently.
I don't
approved it,
remember, I said I
therefore it's
didn't
not
know
in
for
the
sure
update.
which one it was in, but it's in one of them. We just
What was the other
added
one?
retail
Residential.
sales and trade, if you look at those. That's the definition.
No, I'm under the
Rural
the
residential.
zoning district.
It's either rural residential.
Oh, rural
Here,
residential.
we'll go into the ordinances.
Public's allowed to come and apply for change of the ordinance in order to do what
We'll
we're
look at it
saying we
here.
want to do. We've done it several times in several districts.
Did we pull it out of the highway?
So it's already zoned highway service.
No.
commercial?
That's what they call this stuff that
I
could
can't
go
believe
there.
it's not in there.
So.
For years,
I
highway
believe
service
CUP
commercial
is
was gas
already
stations.
zoned commercial. True.
We
Because
just,
you can't-
Yeah. Motels.
okay, we have too many discussions going on.
As.
Let's,
Yeah.
let's bring it in.
Yes, sir.
So when we have, go ahead and ask me that question.
Well, I'm just asking, if it's already zoned highway service commercial, why should we need a conditional use permit to have retail sales? Talking commercial.
Because right now in highway service commercial, retail sales isn't allowed use right now for some reason.
It's not listed at all right now. Well, you have to have, so all items have to be written down in a list, and we just didn't have this one. I'm sorry, it was general commercial is where it is. I knew it was in here, I just,
Yeah.
so right now, in general commercial, it's an allowed use, so that's one thing. And that's kind of where we're at, is why I brought it forward, is it's my only concern with it being an allowed use is the area, because it's still in a
It
residential-ish
is, yeah.
area. That's why I thought the conditional use permit would be better.
I got a question, I guess. Well, I try to figure out how to ask it right. You guys keep
Okay.
going.
And then I was gonna show you the definition of it, just so you guys.
Yeah, I think I agree that on the conditional use part rather than allowed use. But as we look at this and we think about the other things that could go in that spot as highway service commercial, as allowed uses, there's a lot of things that could be right there that really wouldn't fit very well, even though it's zoned for it.
And far worse.
Well, and I don't want to get into that, but
Got it.
next,
Go ahead.
You better go before you forget.
yeah.
If it wasn't allowed use in the highway service commercial, would they still have to come in and apply for a CUP? They would not at all.
They would not, they would do a full development plan.
Yeah.
So then they'd have to go through the development plan process.
It would
and-
still get a chance to come through the system though, correct?
Yes, but there'd be no opportunity. So if it goes through allowed use and a development plan, you don't really have to come in, and once it's approved, you don't really have to come in. Well, what if she sells it and some other business is gonna go in there?
No opportunity.
You
for the
might wanna
public to
have
come in
some,
and-
yes.
Yeah, there's no public hearing
Gotcha.
then at that point. So
How much of that area is zoned highway service commercial? How many
We can pull it up. There's,
residentials is there in
This,
that?
this lot backs up to Guadalajara's back parking lot. And then a house away from this to the north is Valley Corner. Across the
Okay.
street is Crow Creek Brewing.
Yep.
Plus you've got two contractors that have houses to the south of this on the same side.
Yep.
Not a lot of equipment, but they do run their businesses out of there.
Mhm.
So, and I don't know if they're zoned for that or not, or just parking their own stuff, but.
Yeah.
It fits that lower, at the north end of Evans Lane quite well, in my opinion. So,
I feel like
and
that's-
plus, if you saw the house before they started working on it,
here's
it
your,
was an old moved in house from the 65 flood and rapid.
Oh, really?
here's your zoning layer. So the house directly next to it is residential. This is the lot in
Okay.
question. So it's,
But it's already been zoned commercial.
this one has, but the direct adjacent
Right.
one is residential. So these are all commercial. The purple area is all commercial.
any other questions? This is again, an informational meeting, and right now we're just talking about the ordinance change. We're not
Yeah,
talking
and this
about
is the
CUP.
definition that I felt fit what she wanted to do. It's establishments engaged in selling products, goods, or merchandise to the general public for personal or household consumption, and establishments engaged in providing services or entertainment to the general public, including eating, hotels, motels, repair shops, indoor amusement, copying services, health, professional, educational, and social services, which is kind of right in line with what she is going to be doing, which you'll hear about in the next application.
So the two questions we have then are, should retail trade and sales be allowed in highway service commercial? And then should it be an allowed use or conditional use?
Yes.
So any thoughts on that? Anybody have any?
I think it should be allowed, but not an allowed use.
Right.
Conditional use.
It'll be a condition, I would say that.
Okay.
Yep, I agree.
Well,
So,
it's definitely going to be an improvement when you look at the building that's next to.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of even the residential homeowner, at least it's gonna be a cleaned up area with a decent looking building. They kind of have a buffer now from.
Yeah, they could have a lot worse things.
Yeah.
Plus increase their value.
Okay.
Huh?
Just saying.
So-
Increases their value, yeah.
if you guys are okay with it, then is we would go forward with the regular process. So we'll have to do a public hearing and all of that stuff. And then we have to do a first and second reading in front of the Board of Adjustment. No, not yet. County Commission. I always have to think about it. County Commission. And then, so we would do that process. We will do it administratively though. So there will be no fee attached to it if you are okay with that. So that's what that one is.
That makes sense.
Okay.
So public hearing for that will be on May 7th.
Yes.
Okay, now let's go to CUP 501.
All right, so this one is the actual conditional use permit. So like I said, she's going to run these through simultaneously. You would not be able to approve the conditional use permit until such time. Usually we have, by the time you get through the end, if you decide to approve it, you would approve with the condition that the change of zoning take effect. That's normally the language that we've used in the past. But we're gonna run them through simultaneously. So this is for Root Wellness
Well, but-
LLC.
Won't you be the applicant
I
for
will.
the first one? then?
Yeah, we'll switch it.
Yep.
Mhm. And then you kind of saw the location already, but basically she's asking for that retail sales in conjunction with wellness, professional and educational services. That's what will be inside the building. And then she put together a full application for you. She will be the one running it and owning that. I'm not gonna read through this. I think you guys can, but she did a very nice job of putting a business plan together and showing what she wants to do, how she wants to do it, what's all gonna be in there. You know, yoga, offices, occupational therapy, classes, education, some limited retail, therapeutic materials, the garden and the play space in the back, because there's a nice yard in there. So that's kind of, it's all encompassing how it's going to do. She has her written summary in here. It's pretty easy because you already have an existing structure. You have the existing water and sewer already intact. So she's not having to start from scratch with any of that stuff. I guess I'm not, parking and loading. It's going to be, as people are coming into the building for their appointments, basically. And that's no different than a lot of the buildings that are up and down Evans Lane right now.
Okay, any thoughts or discussion on that?
I don't have anything else. The applicant is here though.
Do you have anything
Do
you
you
want to
have
talk about?
anything else?
No, any questions about the type of business? It's mostly service, therapy, and a small retail piece, and the language fit nicely into that. The house and property is under contract in Mile High Construction. They have everything, just up to code, and it's a completely different structure than what's even still on Google Maps. Established, Full Chattel is an established business in Spearfish the last almost 8 years. So it'd be taking that business just into a new space and then having some professional office space available for a couple of providers.
How much parking is there available on that spot?
There right now is just a couple of spots. And I think I was mistaken because I guess that we will go through the city, what you said
You
earlier.
will,
and I was
yeah.
thinking it
We
was
won't
through the
be approving the parking plan. It'll come as part of the city building permit.
But there is quite a bit of space in the front because there's Evans Lane and then there's, it's recessed a little bit. And then there's room on the sides. It's quite a large lot. And so we're hoping to have 4 to 6 spots there. There is a lot of room in the back. Like if we had to have a lot more, which I really we don't, because we'll want to have that space for therapeutic gardens.
So if you see in the plan here, she has the spots on here. That's what I have up. And so she has
those are
1,
parking
2,
spots. I
3
didn't recognize
parking
those as
spots
parking
with 2
spots.
ADA spots and then 2 spots here, which for the square footage of that building, it's probably going to meet their parking requirements. And they're a 5 by 8 by 16, which is the standard size parking space. So they look at
3-dimensional.
16, I think they did.
No pickups.
Yeah.
And then
Maybe
this
under 5.
is, the square footage is based on the use too. So it's not just square footage. They're gonna also look at what is the type of business in there.
Makes sense to me.
So you're on the Spearfish planning and zoning too. So we do our part and then all the
She'll come in for her building permit and permit for the building.
It won't go to the Spearfish planning,
No
But it
problem.
won't need to
They'll
go
do it
planning, it just says
administratively.
building.
Yeah.
just their building
building part. Okay.
because this is in our joint jurisdiction area.
Okay. That's where I'm sometimes.
Yeah.
confused.
Yep.
I'm a little confused on that part of it too, with parking. Isn't that part of the CUP, having enough adequate parking?
Nope, it just says that you'll meet the requirements set out in the ordinance.
Hmm.
And since it's not our ordinance that it's following for building permit, it'll go through Spearfish's.
City.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's outside the city, we would be concerned about parking spaces.
Within the 1 mile.
You
whatever
could.
the map
Not our
is.
ordinance.
You could, as long, it just says, the conditional use permit usually just states that before we can issue a building permit, they have to meet the parking requirements. You guys don't usually approve the parking requirements.
Okay.
Because it would be a part of their, when they do their building permit, they're gonna come in and they're gonna show us what they're doing with the building, what the square footages are. So you guys usually wouldn't see detailed plans yet at this phase. That's why the general condition has always been, you will be required to meet the parking requirements.
Okay, thank you.
But I can tell you based on our parking requirements, this would be enough spots. If that helps.
So where's the staff part though, Ben? Because you've mentioned 2 offices, you've got a yoga studio, so it would seem like the staff would almost take up those parking spots.
Yeah, along the side, there's more room for staff parking if we need it. It's,
Did we have like a Google Earth picture of this?
No,
It's like downtown Spearfish. The employees use up all the parking.
I was just thinking, I have an auditor background, so I was
Yeah,
just
there's
thinking
all
in
kinds of
terms of the staffs and we always had to park way away from where the clients would come or
Yeah,
the patients.
makes
So,
everyone ride your bike.
yeah, or be on a shuttle bus or something, you know.
Here's
So
the
I just
image.
wondered where
yeah, you're gonna have parking here, parking here. You could easily add parking here because this is all a parking lot back behind here too, which is Guadalajara's parking area. This is the structure, but you could easily add parking here.
All kinds of room.
Just be like the FEMA employees and teleport in.
Okay, probably.
The vast majority of it is appointment based.
Yes,
You know, and like you said, maybe the classes where we would have more, but it's not a large space. I mean, the classes are, 6 to 8 people, not like a giant.
Right. And it appears that that's not our jurisdiction anyway, I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay, anything else? Okay, we'll set the public hearing for May 7th. Oh, does anybody want an on-site visit? No, they need that. Okay, yeah, public hearing May 7th then. All right, informational meeting for Lawrence County, ordinance 2602.
Here is your packet. There's a list in there of what you need to do and who you need to send it to. If you have questions, let me know. There's your sign, you get to put it out front. Okay, thank you.
Sure, Chuck. It's in your space. This is their line. I can move it.
Eric hasn't defined his boundary over here yet.
Okay. All right. Next ordinance, 2026-02. These were based off of some discussions that Bruce and I have had, and then also there was some discussion at county commission level with signage specifically to campaign signs. I was able to get these 2 things done. I have some other stuff that I have to work on, but I wasn't able to get it all done before, so that's fine. We'll just keep working on them. But this was some language that, I don't know, it was a while ago. Bruce had found this language on something, and this goes along with the discussion we were just having about conditional use permits and allowed uses and ways to kind of have a little bit of leeway when someone comes in. I can usually look at our list and it's something similar to what's already in there, but it's not actually listed. Is there a way around that? To kind of help alleviate some of these kind of random, hey, we need to add this to the list thing. This is language that we had found in Stanley County.
Can't remember. I think it was a couple different places.
A couple different places, but I think Stanley County was the last one I'd seen. So basically they have added under the district provisions, a classification of unlisted uses. So it would be across the board, not individual, across the board in all the uses. In order to ensure that the zoning ordinance will permit all similar uses in each district, the Board of Adjustment upon its own initiative or upon written application shall determine whether a use not specifically listed as a permitted, accessory, or conditional use in any of the districts shall be deemed a permitted accessory or conditional use in one or more districts on the basis of similarity to uses specifically listed. So if someone comes to me and says, well, I want to do a retail business, it's listed like this, it's a retail business, but it's not specific to occupational therapy. I'm using her as an example.
Mhm.
But we allow a brewery. You know, it's parking, usage, whatever. If you're looking at the same similar things, they could make an application to you to say, hey, would you make, or to the Board of Adjustment saying, hey, would you look at this and tell me, is this similar? If it is, can we just run it through as a conditional use permit instead of having to do an ordinance amendment to add that specific word? Does that make sense? Because you're looking at like uses within that district, basically.
So basically, you're just formalizing the process of deciding if it meets their definitions or not.
Well, definitions or like uses.
Similar
Right.
to.
Yeah.
So right now, we just kind of say, oh yeah, that's this, but now we're gonna actually say, okay, is this actually similar?
Right now, I don't do that. Right now, I make them add the word to the ordinance.
Okay.
This would allow it that we could have a little bit of leeway of it's kind of like what's already here.
Mhm.
We can go ahead and do it as it has to be the same. So if it's listed as a CUP and you think it's like that, then they still have to do a CUP.
Yeah.
If it's listed as an allowed use and it's something the same, then they can do it as an allowed use. But the Board of Adjustment will decide what that is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so right now, basically, you're deciding if it is or isn't that. And this would make it to the Board of Adjustments.
If it's not listed, they have to list it right now. This would give some leeway.
Pretty strict.
I think we do it sort of intuitively, try to look for similarity of use, intensity of use, type of use. And so I think we have tended to make them come in and do an amendment. And so we won't always get away from that, but this, again, like you said, allows us a formalized process where we can kind of try to make it fit when it makes sense, right? And so I think this is a big change.
Isn't Crow Peak Highway Service Commercial? It also has a CUP to do what it's doing. So if we have this in place, we can look at Crow Peak and then see this item we just took care of, and we could.
You could have said, just have them do a CUP. You don't need to add it to.
You don't have to change the ordinance to do it. That's the thought process of that.
It won't get away from all the changes, but some things are so similar, but it's hard to define everything or a nuance of a certain activity that it's very similar to that, but it's not called that. It doesn't have that name, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so why would we make them redo the ordinance when we can kind of interpret it to mean it encompasses a very similar activity? Again, in terms of parking, intensity of use, type of use, that kind of thing.
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, Eric, go ahead. Well, I just think so this, I understand it's gonna put some flexibility in, but it also puts some subjectivity into it. And I always worry about it, just starting down that rabbit hole, just moving the line a little bit more, and pretty soon we're to the point of almost non-conforming uses. Just by extending it a little bit each time. That's my only concern in doing this. Whereas if it's written, it's pretty objective. Everybody knows what the rules are and knows what they have to follow.
Mr. Chairman? I'm trying to think of a good example. I can't, but so imagine if you had a coffee shop that wasn't allowed use. And you had something that was basically the same as a coffee shop. People were pulling up, getting their coffee, leaving. What's that?
A soda fountain.
A soda fountain, something very similar, right? But it wasn't a coffee shop. So our ordinance specifically said coffee shop. But then so we'd say, well, no, you have to amend the ordinance because you have a soda shop, if that makes sense, right? It's the same kind of thing. This allows you to interpret it and say, it's the same.
And I think the reason why I put it in the general district provisions is it gives an option. I think you still have to trust my judgment of, I usually know when we're kind of like that. If I think it's kind of like that, I'm going to have it go to the Board of Adjustment and ask the question. If it's not like that, I'm going to tell them, no, you need to do an ordinance revision. I still have that ability to do that, but it gives us an extra layer because there are some times that it's like, oh my goodness, I'm making them go through this whole process when it's a brewery and a restaurant. It's the same thing. Parking's gonna be the same, food intake, all of the things are the same, but it's not listed separately.
So it's gonna be the same board that would decide if they, I'm just trying to look at
A
both
board of
sides.
adjustment would
So
also approve a
The same board of adjustments would approve to change the ordinance
Mm-mm.
or
Mm-mm.
decide that they're similar.
No, board of adjustment only approves conditional use permits.
Oh, yeah,
County
so,
commission approves.
yeah, the county commissioners could
change.
approve the ordinance change.
Mhm.
So I'm seeing like what Eric is saying, if we just keep moving this down the road, it's like just keep a little bit more and a little bit more. But it's gonna be a board decision to either change the ordinance or allow the use at the same time. So they're gonna do either, if they wanna do it, they're gonna do either one, it seems like.
I think maybe this is for Bruce, but if we adopt this language, we don't necessarily, we're not taking any avenues away from our decision-making or anything we could put in. It just makes it a little bit easier if we get one of these unique situations, is the way I'm understanding this, correct?
I think of a better example. So again, along the lines of, so you have a coffee shop or a portable shop where you go get your coffee and you leave, you pick up your coffee and go. Okay. And so let's say you got a hot dog shop. So somebody's going to go there and get their hot dog, they're going to go. And so, but it doesn't say hot dog shop, it says coffee shop, but it's kind of the same thing. And so would we amend the ordinance to say hot dog shop when we can say, well, you know, it's kind of generically along that same line as a coffee shop. You can't define everything generically. You have to be specific on some things. It's kind of an art form, right? And I guess we're trying to build in some flexibility there. I think Amber would be very conservative in how she would interpret that. And you're going to see it again, either through a CUP. You might say, well, no, we're not comfortable with that. It's not like enough. We need to like take a step back and amend the ordinance. I think that's already there, right? If we have to. You know, you don't have to adopt this, but again, other folks have it, and it's just trying to make things a little bit easier for folks.
Are we being too, when you're saying your examples, for example, they just seem too specific.
But that's what we run
That's
into.
what we have.
And again, I'm new to this whole thing, but what I've seen is that you've added some, like you added the retail restaurant, whatever it was called, to something a couple of
in one district.
meetings ago. So you're saying you're trying to avoid having to do that?
Only if it's not something I can relate to. So if there's already something listed that's related to what they're trying to do, I would use this function. But if it's not, like I can't find anything in there that's related to it, they're still gonna have to amend the permit process. It's only if it's in relation to it.
I think the Supreme Court said a couple years ago, it's actually been quite a while ago now, it's back when Brandon was still planning and zoning director, that the county had a list, for example, all of the particular conditional uses. And so it's almost impossible to do that. And so we're trying to build in some flexibility. So again, if it's a hot dog shop versus a coffee shop, but it's basically the same thing, you know, can we proceed without having to put in hot dog shop one day, coffee shop the next day, and then ice cream shop the following day? Does that make sense? Hamburger shop or whatever.
But if you've already got restaurant, retail, whatever, why wouldn't all those things go under that?
Well, it would, but that's only listed in one district. What if someone comes in and they want it
I
in
see.
a general commercial district? That's not listed,
I
so
see.
now they're gonna
Like-
have to
Like we
amend
just
it.
did.
Correct.
We have to, okay.
My example is probably confusing you because right, we would try to make it as generic as we could, but you can't think of all the uses that folks are
Right.
coming up with.
Got it.
And again, this isn't required. You have to do it. We present it. We've been sitting on this for a while.
Basically just another tool for us to help move the meetings along more efficiently, I guess, is what, the way I'm understanding it, looking at it.
And it puts some trust into our staff.
And Mr. Chair, we really want to be careful. We're still trying to be aligned with the Supreme Court's opinion about having uses listed, but there's got to be some kind of common sense involved in some of this as well, right? Again, there's just an unlimited number of things that people can come up with.
So like, I mean, this is a good example for me. 35 and 36, we added a few years ago. microbrewery and distiller. And that was specifically because we had a distiller that wanted to come in and we had a brewery that wanted to go in. But let's say it only said microbrewery, but they want to add a restaurant to that. But it's not listed. So if they come to me and say, I want to put a brewery in and I want to serve food. We said they can have a brewery, but we didn't say they could have food. The new tool would allow me to say, well, they're still parking, they're still inside a structure, they're still providing bathrooms, they're still doing all those things. It would allow me to ask, we allow a brewery, could I say that they can do a restaurant?
And it would still go through the cup process.
Yes, because it's listed as a conditional use permit. So I can't change it from a CUP to an allowed use. It has to stay within where it is. But that's maybe a better idea of saying, well, we went through, we do a distiller and we do a microbrewery, but it doesn't say you can do a restaurant. How is that really any different?
Same space, same number of tables.
Actually, you need that food in there.
You do?
Yeah.
So I mean, but that's probably more of what I've looked at is some of that kind of stuff. So that is what this would be a public hearing if you choose to go forward with it. The two changes are adding that classification of unlisted uses. And then we went rounds with this campaign sign stuff. So this was what we had come up with. Our current signage in on-premise, there's nothing. And we would like to add the word campaign sign would be considered a special situation with what they can do. This is based off of state law. So Bruce just had me, basically we took the state statute, but the statute in state law specifically talks to municipalities. There's nothing in it regarding counties. It only talks about municipalities. So we took the wording, but took out the word municipality, but we're being consistent with what's already allowed inside the municipalities. The county laws that we were able to find did not really have, it didn't specify to counties. It only specified to municipalities. So it was kind of weird, but.
I think it was a couple of years ago, you amended the sign ordinance, and this is sort of a casualty of that, as I would call it. It sort of got made generic. And so I think that was unintentional. So again, as Amber pointed out, this language would be consistent with state law that governs only campaign signs inside of city limits. So it would mirror that. It wouldn't be inconsistent or confusing for anybody.
And we were trying to, because this is what Brenda had to follow when people would call her about it. It can no later than 10 days prior to the day when absentee voting in a primary or general election begins, has to follow the campaign sign to continue to be displayed through election day. And then they have to have it removed within 5 days after.
Currently is 5.
And the state statute is 7. That's,
Yeah, so ours currently says political campaign signs provided the signs are removed within 5 days after the election. We would put the same wording in. So under on premise and off premise, we would have the same, because it shouldn't matter if somebody wants whoever they want to have them put a sign in their front yard, they can do that. If it's off premise, that would be a good example would be Mike Davies coming up here on the side of the trailer down there. Same rules would apply. He can have it up. He can have it in that zoning district. It's on private property, not in the public right of way, because you can't have it in the public right of way. But he still has to meet the regulations, which nowadays, right now it doesn't say anything. He can put it up. I can't stop it.
Oh, so what you're saying, the one that we saw when we came down here, that couldn't go up until
10 days. If we had this in effect, it would be 10 days prior to the absentee voting.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think they could have that type of sign because it has to be freestanding.
Yeah.
So that's affixed to something. So this harkens back to what we're customarily used to,
Yeah.
to small yard signs or the 4x8 plywood sheets kind of a thing. And so it would, we're not trying to pick on anybody individually. So it's not that, but we're trying to get back to customarily what we're all used to, right?
Seems to me the city has a 4x8 size limit.
Yeah,
I
this,
read that
32 square
somewhere.
feet. It's 32 square feet.
and
So that's, I thought that our county had that same ordinance.
no, it was our ordinance.
I think we've had that before.
Our ordinance used to specify 32 square feet.
So we don't have that in.
We do not, because when when the statutes changed for signage and it was a court case, I don't know, 10 years ago probably now, the counties were told you cannot regulate signage content. You can only go by sizes, places, locations, whatever. Well, when we started looking at it, I'm hard pressed to say 32 square feet when that's not what the statute says. So we felt that we should at least follow what the statute said versus having a size, but it does have to be a freestanding. It can't be on, like that would not be allowed if this one wasn't effective. Right now it can be because it's not in effect.
That's strictly would be a county situation, because statewide stations have one on a semi for years on I-90.
And that one's a weird one because I honestly don't even know if our sign regulations would qualify because it's a state highway, not a county.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother, a lot of people forget that, yes, that's in the county, but ultimately the state regulations for signage is going to prevail.
And that's the problem with this one. Somebody, okay, well, I got by with a campaign program. Why don't I sell some advertising to somebody?
Yeah, and we have talked to that particular landowner and they're very well aware that it'll be removed within the, right afterwards.
So you could have that size if it's freestanding, but you can't have it on the side of something that can be correct. What difference does that make?
I think the
Just so
idea
you
is,
don't have a trailer sitting there.
well, I think the idea is it's gonna be sort of self-limiting at some point in how big of a sign you can have, that's freestanding. Make sense? You're gonna have to have some infrastructure in place to have that kind of a sign just standing out there in that location when the wind and so forth. Right.
Yeah, and if you,
Well, yeah, but that's probably why they put it on a structure like that, because of the wind.
right, but if you look at our regular ordinance, our regular sign ordinance states that you can't have a trailer anyways, but this doesn't fall within a regular. So let's say they were trying to put non-campaign sign, we'll say that,
Advertising.
advertising
Yeah,
a
yeah.
business, that we would not allow that. It says specifically you cannot use trailers or.
Or if it had a
affixed
thing
things.
saying, turn
Or-
here for
Yep, or a truck.
Red Start Road or whatever,
Yeah.
because, I mean, you couldn't put that sort of thing on
No.
there. You just couldn't have a trailer out there.
You couldn't have a sign on the side of a trailer.
Or, I mean, you could have a trailer, but you couldn't have a sign on it.
Correct.
Why do we allow it for a campaign and not allow it for a business?
Because campaign signs are deliberately, they're different.
Because
They're a different
limited-
animal.
limited in
And
time.
we can't do anything with that because of state regulations. Okay. That's very much.
I think that's what we're trying to do is just to align everything, how it used to be, which is also aligned with our other signs, if that makes sense, right? So we're not trying to pick on anybody or single anybody out, but we realize that the rules got changed kind of inadvertently, and we have an example of something we've never seen before. And you can certainly allow that if you want, but the idea is probably to go back to how we were, right?
Except for the 32 square feet.
Yeah.
But other than that, we're just saying they can do it. It can be the 10 days and 5 days. And I know that's what Brenda would like to see because that's what is kind of customary when it comes to campaign stuff.
And I mean, Chairman, and I think in terms of like trying to create something new that singles anybody out, we're not, again, this is based upon what state law is for cities. So there's consistency there, there's predictability there as well. That's kind of fair.
Mr. Chair, wouldn't Bruce, whatever ordinance we had, if it went as far, I mean, wouldn't state law prevail over whatever we had to begin with anyway?
Not necessarily, depends. So in this case, state law only governs municipalities. So they allow us, I think, to, we're bounded by violating, for example, that Supreme Court case about how we would be limiting free speech and that kind of thing. But in other words, you could still regulate it just as long as you're not violating that case, I think.
Okay.
Sometimes what you're trying to say is state law occupies a field, and if they occupy the field, then you can't usually be more restrictive, or maybe in some cases more allow more if the state occupies the field, but they're only occupying the field in this case, I think, with respect to city signs.
Mr. Chair. I like both these changes. I think the both will be beneficial to us in the long run.
This is again an informational meeting, so is there any other things we would like to see here?
I actually have one other question. So because you were talking about state law not superseding what we do. What about covenants? Because in my neighborhood, you can't put a political sign out at all. So
Right,
does that mean we
covenants-
have to allow that now?
You enforce covenant.
Okay, I just wanted to.
So
make sure.
covenants can be stricter based in your neighborhood, but you would have to enforce
And they can
those.
be, okay, yeah.
Sure. I think, and John, I think we verified this, covenants are the nature of it, it's a civil contract between folks. And so you're allowed to govern yourselves more restrictively through those civil covenants.
I assumed that was the answer, but I just wanted to make
Just
sure.
leave those to this crazy HOA.
Yeah, I know how I feel about putting political signs out.
But I don't think the HOA could say that you're allowed to have a 5,000 square foot neon
They,
lit campaign sign, right? If it's.
correct, they
can
can't
be
go,
much restricted.
our rules will supersede. I'm worried about the other side of having anything at all.
Not putting up a
The
neon
covenant
sign.
rules can be more restrictive.
The people in my neighborhood are too cheap to put up, pay for a neon sign out there.
They have different rules for different.
Okay.
All right,
Wow. That's about all the information we can stand on that subject.
What is?
okay, the weed report. Does anybody have any questions about the weed report?
The other question I have is, so do we always get a weed report on, because last time we had a weed report on the two land use or the plat lines.
You'll always get them on plats,
So we always get them.
on plats.
So since I've got Mr. Weedboard here, do you then send letters out to these people? Do you? Okay.
Yep, so
Finally.
the two, so Ryan Palmer and Dave Heck work for Lawrence County Invasive Species Management.
Right.
They're the ones that actually go and inspect all the properties, and then they will give a report back to that landowner saying, hey, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. They work with them directly.
Well, and I do know Mr. Heck, because when I first moved out, I told Mr. Tisdale earlier that I unfortunately was on the HOA board because there were only 3 families out there. You had to have a minimum of 3. And one of my friends actually turned us in as having Canadian thistle and St. John's wort. And it's like, you know, so I called Mr. Heck and he actually gave me a reference for somebody to come out and
Spray.
and spray, but I never got anything. So did I call too soon?
No,
Is
it's,
that why?
you're only gonna see it when you're platting.
Okay.
So this is only because it's new plats coming in.
Okay.
If
So
it's
other-
just you as the landowner calling him, he's gonna tell you, hey, this is what you should do.
Well, then how do I know though, if someone complained about our subdivision, you got your hand up there, wouldn't I get notified? Because how would I know if I hadn't?
Mr. Chair, so I think how Dave has done it, he's been very successful now of late with these reports and working with subdivisions and these larger groups of people to self-regulate. So it's been a good process. But I think what he tries to do is he'll send a warning letter out. I think if he gets a complaint, and I can't remember the time frame, he gets so many days, I think, to comply. But then he could issue a more formal an enforcement letter. And so then you go under enforcement. He tries to avoid that. So I think he works with people, he makes references, have, recommendations about chemicals and those kinds of things. So you don't have an enforcement, because once a property goes under enforcement, it can stay there under enforcement for, I think, for years at a time.
And I guess what I'm saying is I would have liked to have gotten the letter, because now there I am with people who have property who don't live here telling them, we have to comply, and your response, it just would have been nice to have something official from the county.
You would get that now, by the way.
Okay.
In the past, the weed program was not very proactive at
So
all.
this is talking 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was probably
This
really
has
nothing
only
going
been
on
in
by
the
at that
last
time.
Last year or so.
year.
Yeah, last year,
I'm
year and a
actually
half.
encouraged to hear that.
Last year,
Sometimes
the
it
board
helps
approved.
people. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been about a year and a half, probably.
All right, thank you. Sorry, I
Yep,
digressed.
no, that's
but-
fine.
All right, final plat for Bighorn L&R Ranch LLC.
All right, so this one is off of Highway 85, out almost to the Tinton Road exit off of Highway 85. There's a subdivision over here, I just linked it.
Green something.
Greenview Estates.
Greenview.
Greenview Estates, I think that's right. Greenview Estates is over here. This is across from there. There's 3 large parcels in here. They are doing a lot line revision between the parcels. So there's some HESs, they're homestead entry survey lots. They are more than likely going to sell them and more than likely going to have a subdivision at some time. There has been some back and forth with the Forest Service. We just added another comment yesterday, I believe, after she talked to you, maybe, John? Is that
I did.
why I got the email? So she sent one email with some concerns from the Forest Service, and then John had asked me about it, and he ended up calling her, and then she sent back another email just yesterday, and that's also in here. The Forest Service has been pretty good about commenting on plats now, at least. They won't sign anything, but they'll at least let us know what their concerns are, which is better than what we were getting.
Yep.
So that's kind of,
Yeah.
whoops.
North.
It's past
For the cross-country
trails.
trails.
Yeah, past Eagle.
Oh,
Let
okay.
Eagle
That's
Cliff.
trails on the green views.
I got you now. Okay.
Yeah, it's right, it's at the upper
Yeah,
entrance
it's
of
way,
Eagle.
almost to Wyoming.
Is it?
Not
No, it's way
Trailshead.
south.
It's on this side of Trailshead.
It's just before the old church camp, just before the old, there's that church camp and then Tent
Uh-huh.
Road.
Okay.
Just right there on the
Just prior
corner.
to that.
Mhm.
They go
Before you go
around.
up that steep hill.
Yeah, they put a nice
Okay.
entrance in on
As
the
it starts
green
turning
view.
around, yeah, okay.
You take a left and go up the steep.
Here's
So it's
Green
not
View.
before O'Neill Pass.
Before O'Neill Pass.
Okay.
So Green View is here, you're coming this way.
It's put like a $200,000 gate up out there.
On Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge fancy gate.
All right.
So tract 3 is gonna be a 25-acre parcel down here. Then you can see the old underlying, so you have HES 116, HES 540, and HES 518. HES stands for Homestead Entry Survey. There was 3 different parcels in there. They are changing, the lot lines between all of them. So you have tract 2, let me see if I can pull this up so you can see it. Tract 2 is 4 acres right here, which is gonna be on the other side of Highway 85, so it makes sense to have that kind of as its own lot. That's this one right here. You have, tract 3 is gonna be this parcel right here, which is 25 acres. And then the remainder of all 3 of those being combined is gonna be 422.792 acres. It's basically creating a boundary plat, is how I would look at it. It's encompassing the outer perimeters. And then I would expect at some point in time, we will see a subdivision trying to be created in there.
And right now, zone park forest.
Yes, it is all park forest. So she broke it down for you, that 452 acres would be a 5-acre average, 2-acre minimum is about 90. 90, I don't know what that is, 90-acre average. But I think when you came down to it, the Forest Service, ultimately what I got out of the Forest Service, yes, they have concerns. There'll have to be something done before subdivision can occur. That's kind of the gist of it. Do you have anything to add to that, John?
Yeah,
Talk to her.
when I talked to Forest Service, and we did meet with them several times, their concern was more of the entrance comes in through an easement with the U.S. Forest Service. The parties actually, the predecessors to Mr. Linscoe had entered into basically a perpetual easement with the Forest Service. What the Forest Service is concerned about, or what they want to talk about later, if it goes into the subdivision, is a relocation of the easement that is there, because it's a hiking trail now, but there'll obviously have to be a road put in there, and so they just want to make sure that they don't lose their hiking trail rights and stuff, or through the easement, which we're, that's not going to be an issue with me, but we're going to probably relocate it sometime. So that was the easement. That's the concern she had.
And you can see in the write-up that 422 acres, based on the zoning that it is, 5-acre lots would be about 84 lots. That's depending, we don't know what they're gonna propose yet. You'll have to have the one way in, one way out discussion. Will have to come in because you're not gonna be able to get an alternative access out more than likely from the Forest Service. They've been pretty, but we'll have to see. Yeah, we don't know.
I have different thoughts on that because it's a public road comes in, and one of the easements they have from the prior owners hooks into the public road, so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how why the Forest Service is going to take that position. We'll see.
Yeah, we don't know for sure. So that'll just be something that's gonna come up. The other thing is, I have not seen engineering plans or any of that yet. We'll get to that point when they come in. But right now, this would be considered a boundary plat and a replat because they're changing those original HES lot lines. They started with 3 HESs, they're ending with 3 lots. So
Most
to me,
of it
it's
is exempt.
still the same.
Second.
Where is, I'm sorry, where is 85 on there? I'm having trouble
Highway
reading.
85 is right down here.
Oh, it's just going through,
It goes
okay.
through it.
I'm just trying to position, because I go out to Eagle Cliffs a lot, so it's out that way?
Yes, just past the turnout.
85 or 20.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay, got it. I guess I've never noticed that.
Yeah,
So that's past Eagle
This is
Cliffs.
Greenview Lake.
So Eagle Cliffs is over here somewhere?
It'd be before you're getting all that, Kristen.
Okay.
No, I got second.
Interesting. Okay. Just trying to orient myself.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that this is exempt from the fire plan.
Sorry. to
Is
interrupt.
there discussion on that? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All the same sign.
Aye, whatever. Sorry. Yeah,
Oh, he doesn't know what he agreed to now.
I seconded that exempt motion.
Final plat.
Okay, this is final plat only, so we'd entertain a motion on that.
Move to approve.
Oh, God, I'll second it.
All right, discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, and then we'll have an opportunity when that comes for subdivision to talk more about the entrances and exits. and all those
Entrances,
things.
exits, fire plan, road profiles, all that fun stuff.
All right, and now we have a preliminary and final plat for Golden Reward Mining Company.
If you remember, this one was brought forward, they did a informational meeting. I think it was even front of county commission too, if I remember right. And there was some discussion, so normally I would require a boundary, not a boundary. They would have to plat, they couldn't leave a remainder, basically, because they're only taking a small piece out of the overall. But the county commissioners and you guys had said that it was okay to allow it in this scenario because it's part of what they're trying to sell to Terry Peak. This is their water source for all their snowmaking. And so that was part of the agreement that before they started any post-closure stuff or anything like that, that they would get the containment pond, which is where all their water comes from for snowmaking. So they went ahead and did a 20 acres around that containment pond with the buildings. They will leave a remainder, and as part of that remainder discussion, we added the note that this plat is for transfer purposes only. So that it's basically giving them permission to not plat the remainder because the remainder is still within the Golden Reward mining operation. And so it's within their old CUP boundary and they can't actually release any of those lands until it goes through post-closure. So the only thing that the state has allowed them to release is just the containment pond and the buildings. So that's why this is being platted like it is. And then
Released for the purposes of.
for reclamation bond, yeah. Well, the reclamation bond is still in existence for Golden Reward. No, Golden Reward is an old mining company. So they still have their reclamation bond in place with the state. The state has told them it's okay to release this 20 acres. Just strictly for that, but they can't release any of the other land.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What is this map showing?
That's the actual mineral survey loads. So all those
Okay.
squares are the mineral survey loads.
The blue line isn't anything.
No, that's just showing on our mapping system.
Yep.
Amber, this is the one where, so they're not being required to plat the remainder, but we're not concerned about that because they're still subject to the state mine permit. And ultimately, at the end of all this, there'll be some I'll call it reorganization or replatting that will account for the remainder. So it's just sitting out there for now, but it'll get accounted for later on, and there's no danger of it being developed or used for some other purpose other than regulated by the mine or the by the state, correct?
Yep, and we did the notation that is for transfer purposes only, and down here, we required them to give us it's an acreage table that shows exactly how much is being platted and how much is remaining, because the deeds or the equalization office has to be able to separate that acreage for you know, where it gets transferred to.
Mhm.
So they had to do the acreage table, so we had that on there.
Mr. Chairman, does this have any bearing on any liability issues as far as contamination or anything like that down the road that would change anything?
Now, the state the state has allowed this to be used for snowmaking for years. Because of the way that it's done, it's fine. They're allowing it to be let go.
But the state will continue to regulate the water and things like that then?
Yeah, they're still under the same reclamation bond process, like for water,
Isn't Terry Peak under the ownership of Golden Reward?
they're a partial owner.
Liability's still there.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I don't think it's gonna end up being a brome or anything like that, so I think there's just sufficient safeguards in place for this not to do that.
What's a brome? The brome mining company, which is a whole.
Oh, you're referring to a,
Different mining.
that's the
company.
name of a problem.
A mess.
Okay. Never mind.
The
Okay.
state currently owns it.
I was just curious on that, if any decision that we made would screw around with any liability issues as far as if they found God knows what.
Well, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I think the state is very aware of this process, and you haven't heard anything from them, Amber, adverse to the plating of this according to.
No, they actually released it already.
We'll make a motion to approve
Preliminary.
preliminary.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Pose same sign. Okay, and now the final plat.
Move to approve final.
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
You missed that one. Yeah, Ewing and Wayland.
All right, items from planning and zoning board members.
Well, I like the part where I can have more opportunity for my hot dog stand. Thank you.
I knew you were gonna.
So we're gonna hear from you soon, right?
That's Wayland's Coney Island hot dogs.
Hey, that's a good name.
Yeah. Amber, has there been any recent discussion on redoing the ETJ? Because it is
It's a mess.
antiquated and a mess.
No,
What's ETJ?
we have an old extraterritorial jurisdiction ordinance, which is specifically what they have to follow for plating within that joint powers area.
Uh-huh.
It's from the 1980s. It's very old.
Mr. Chairman?
And the city follows it very strictly.
Uh-huh.
And it doesn't do anybody any good having it the way it is. We need to get working on it.
I've tried multiple times. I know that they have a draft document. But the last I heard is because of whatever was transpiring with the city and redoing something. They didn't want to touch our document till that was
Well,
completed.
that's kind of been blessed. I don't know if the council's blessed it all
Okay,
yet, but yeah, I'll visit.
that's the last update I
I
have
don't want to
received.
throw you under the bus, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to Peter about it.
Yeah. I have not had any.
It's ridiculous.
I have not had any discussion with the new, I have not even met the new planning person.
You're gonna like them.
So I haven't met him. I haven't had a discussion with him. Nothing.
Sounds encouraging.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's a good guy.
Oh, yes, okay. I
Yeah.
thought he was being sarcastic for a minute.
I've
No.
heard good things.
It refers to the residents of this county as customers. And he says, my thing, everything I do is, let's figure out how to do it. Let's just do it right. And that's so reverse from what we.
I can tell you plat reviews, at least recently, in the last 3 weeks. I get notification, when they want me to look at a plat that's inside that jurisdiction. I'm actually getting a response when I make a comment. So I
Good.
mean, that's good, because for the longest time I wouldn't even get that. So that's been good.
I think the people under them are talented.
The,
Yeah,
I can't say her.
Bond.
Okay,
Call her
Bond.
Bond.
I don't know how to say her name.
No,
Um,
it's a daily.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. It's a really long last name.
Stop seeing.
And
Something.
to
She's,
me, yeah.
it seems that like the response time is a lot more timely that I've noticed in the last 3 weeks or so.
That's the plan.
So
Bruce, the other one?
So I think, I've been around since 1998, so predating me, there used to be an ETJ board allowed by state law that, and maybe were you on it, Rick?
I was on it.
And so he can tell you more than I can, but it was a combination of county and city folks, and I think they would meet, it was like a joint zoning board, and they would apply this ETJ ordinance. I don't know exactly why the ETJ dissolved, but the board that would apply the ordinance no longer exists, but we still have the ordinance that applies in an extraterritorial jurisdiction area. And so it hasn't been touched, I don't think, since 1998. And so there's a question about the applicability of it. If you don't have the board to enforcement, can you have that same ordinance? Is it still in effect? I don't know.
And in the past, they've kind of ignored it, kind of worked around it and things, but with the new folks in there, they don't know the difference of what we did in the past because everybody's new. And so they're out there enforcing it. Yeah, it was a deal where we sat in the old city hall in Spearfish, and ETJ sat here, city council was here, and the county commissioners were here. And we had to balance them and get something done. It was interesting.
That started in the late 70s, early 80s. So that's-
Yeah, it was
I think
right after
78.
zoning came into
Yeah,
place here.
And Mr. Chair, I know there's frustration with it because I get calls from 2 local surveyors frequently. Not that I can solve
Let me
their
tell you who they
problem,
are.
but you can imagine. And I guess just to, as a grievance procedure, I listen to their grievances. Yeah, they are quite aggrieved. And I know Amber's been working with staff going back to Jana. So this is probably what, 5 years ago now almost. There's been so much changeover with Spearfish just planning and zoning that it keeps getting kicked down the road because of other projects and then the turnover there. So we've been trying to chase this now for quite a while.
One of the big things that's paying it is that in it, it says you have to have 100-foot wide, publicly dedicated right of way. Most things are 66 feet, and they want the additional on half on each side going into private property and for no use. I mean, it stops at the city, widens up and hit ETJ and then narrows back down again. And they're sticking to it. I mean, it's not good.
They are. And another example is, there's an example of like sort of, let's say the Maitland Road, where a portion of the Maitland Road, there's city is annexed on both sides of it, but the city has never taken on any portion of the road. And so when there's a plat to be done, the city has platting authority, but they defer to the county for road jurisdiction. And so, but at the same time, the city is requiring this additional right of way pursuant to its rules alongside of a county road. The county has no need or is not requesting any of this additional right of way. Does it make sense? And so, but the city's persistent in it. And then it raises a real question of well, you basically have to give this land up, dedicate it to the city. There, so the question, is it a taking? Because there's no compensation for it. You have to do it in order to get your plat approved. But from a county perspective, there's this right of way out there that who's responsible for it? Because the county is never going to need it. And so I think our argument is that the city is approving the plats, is then holding the property, that extra property in trust. If they ever use it, if ever. But again, so it raises the question of, well, who's responsible for mowing it, spraying weeds on it? Because the landowner's probably not terribly interested in that at that point, maybe because it's adjacent to their property. But like, you took it from me, you figure it out, right? And so that's an ongoing problem from the county's perspective. Is it fair to everybody? Makes sense?
Yeah. And the homeowners that have 10 acres, they want to split it up for a couple of their kids, and the minimum's 5 acres. This takes just enough, so
Yeah.
they've been allowing it to be less than 5, but it needs fixed.
And we did have a draft. Our proposal, I know it's somewhere at the city because I read it from the previous planning director. Yeah, that had basically, we had come to some sort of where we had like a boundary kind of, anything directly adjacent to city limits would follow city standards. Anything that they couldn't get water or sewer to, you know, because there's some, they know kind of where that boundary is, that could follow county subdivision standards. And that was like a very basic, clean way to do it. And we weren't gonna recreate a whole set of standards. We were just gonna say, if you're within this distance, you have to follow city. If you're within this distance, you have to follow county.
Back when Kevin was there, and then he and the mayor were agreeing with that boundary, and they kind of looked at it as that boundary, but that's never officially been changed, so now.
The boundary has been changed officially.
Oh, is it officially? Okay.
Yeah, the official map is up in both city and county. The maps are up. We got that approved, but we didn't get the
How did-
ordinance
The rules
changed.
didn't change, the map, the
The
line
map,
changed.
we got the map changed and City of Spearfish adopted it and we adopted it. So the map is different than the old ETJ map. The only thing that did not get updated was the actual ordinance. And I know Kevin had a draft because him and I went through it.
Okay.
It's somewhere. I just don't know where.
See if
Would
we
you
can
do
bring it.
just an ETG agreement with, between the city and the council
We-
with regard to the jurisdiction?
So trying.
That's what we want to do because we have an agreement in place. It's just,
Yeah.
it references.
Hasn't been in the past.
Yeah, it references
I know
this
you guys are wrestling.
1980s ordinance. So we literally, we could, at any point in time, if they want me to do it, I will do it. But I kept being told, no, it has to come from the city.
But if you got a map that says that, why can't you just write an agreement that comports with it that you did in that map? If you agree to it.
They've been through so many changes, they haven't had anybody want to stick on this on yet. Now, Peter's there for a while, I think he's gonna do well for the city and for the community. And now that the city administrator stuff's kind of settled down, he's taking control of engineering and a few other things, which is engineering needs control.
Who's that?
The new, it's
Peter
the new.
Lasaki. He's a new planning and zoning, or new, there's a special name, fancy name. but-
Community development,
Yeah.
something or other.
Yeah, but,
Does
Yeah.
he get a $250,000 severance package?
well,
Yet to be determined.
that's Defense Spearfish if they want to pay for that.
But yeah, so I know it's out there. We had a pretty clear and concise, like Kevin and I did, of what we wanted to see. I just don't know what happened.
Okay,
So if he looks through records, I would assume he'll find
he allows me to stir the pot.
the draft. So.
Anything else from anybody? Any concerns, hopes, aspirations?
I'm wondering if it's getting close to maybe being the right time to approach this new planning and zoning director and see if we could make some sort of a committee to maybe try to get this stuff combined or maybe start.
Like what stuff? The
Well, as far as
ETJ?
the ETJ and to try to maybe start working through this.
They've already done it.
Yeah,
They've
It's
got a
done,
draft.
it's just, we already did it.
Well, it's got to get it out so we look
We
at it
just-
and vote on it.
oh, okay.
I think really if he can find Kevin's draft and tweaks it, how, maybe we both, I think the intention that Kevin had before he left was he would take the draft to the city planning commission. I would bring the draft to you guys. You guys would talk amongst yourselves and decide what you like about it or what you don't. Then him and I could come back together, to kind of bring in all of those concerns. And then we would have a workable draft, but it just never got to that point. And then
So I think
Hopefully this new guy's good.
we're actually close.
Yeah.
He's had enough other problems to deal with that, but rather than open this up.
Sure. Maybe an idea is I'd like to meet him too. And maybe we could invite him to the May planning and zoning meeting here and have him introduce himself. I don't know, it's just an idea.
Yeah, I can email him.
Might be a horrible idea, but
One way to find out.
Screwed up before.
Well, it's not like it's gonna make it any worse than it already is. It's kind of a mess to navigate right
I
now.
know, things, relations have gotten a little better. We had some stubborn people aren't on our end of things. And they had them on their end of things, and that's all kind of cleaning up. So,
Well, hopefully they'll get settled and get some people that'll stay and everything working.
so.
All right, anything else? Okay. Public comment?
Is your offer still open, Mr. Chisholm?
Yes, sir.
Don't work out.
He needs a ride home.
Oh, need a ride back to Spearfish, huh?
I do.
Next meeting, Thursday, May 7th at 1:30 PM. Good. Meeting adjourned.